they are so hard to watch. Bryce Young looks like he is mentally beaten and broken down to the point where they're going to start getting asked every week whether or not they're going to put Andy Dalton in there.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Those of you that watch us on the DK Network or youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL can see the game balls or the helmets or whatever. Everybody else, you just get to listen to my voice, which, by the way, I have found is very polarizing. People either really like my voice or they really don't. I got to be honest with you. I can't change it. This is what I'm going with. I'm glad those of you that like it and the ones that don't, that's a bummer. But this is what I'm going to roll with. And we got a lot to roll with today. Monster Mondays are always the same. I'm going to give you the things that jumped out to me throughout the whole NFL in general, and then in particular in each game. And what I really mean is the things that I think mattered from the game, the things that I think will matter moving forward from the game. So let's dive right into it. I should mention new week means new winners. Almost nothing gives me more pleasure than sending you guys signed pictures or cards or press passes from these games. I got the press pass from Bills Dolphins Thursday night, Colorado State Saturday night. Would love to sign that and send it to you. Just spread the word via social media, whether it's my personal at Ross Tucker NFL or especially at Ross Tucker Pod, the network account. You engage with that on any of the platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We look to see who engages. It's awesome. We also look, well, we don't really look actually. We get your emails, ross@rosstucker.com, when you take advantage of any of our sponsors like futurefans.com or westshorehome.com/Ross. YouTube shout-out's pretty cool because people pay me to do these cameo-style videos. You get it for free just by making a YouTube comment after you subscribe. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Speaking of shout-outs, we keep getting more and more patrons to start the year, which is awesome. How about Randy Samuelson, Kyle Awalt, Mark Garcia, all became Tuckheads members of patreon.com/RT Media so they can get the even money bets and be part of our private Slack channel, which is awesome. Let's dive into it. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, what were your overall themes from week 2 across the NFL this week?
Quite a bit, I would say, Jack. It was nice, by the way, to just be able to be home and red zone it all day and watch all the games. That was nice. I love doing games, obviously, but since I was on college this week, Colorado State, Saturday night, I took the red eye back, and so I was able to watch all the games yesterday. So you get a really good feel for it. I'll tell you one of the things that jumps out to me, Jack, and I know we know this already, but sometimes I like to verbalize it. It's just unbelievable how much quarterbacks run now compared to, like when I was even playing, right? 20 years ago. I mean, you sit there on the red zone and you watch the amount of times that Lamar Jackson runs or Baker Mayfield is running. Right? Anthony Richardson, Malik Willis, even Deshaun Watson. I mean, I'm watching Jacoby Brissett at times. Levis. I mean, Jaden Daniels a lot. Kyler. I mean, it really jumps out. It really jumps out how often quarterbacks are ball carriers, which is neither here nor there other than to say it's a really nice thing to have. And those guys just got to make sure that they're not taking certain shots. I think some of these guys, Caleb Williams in the pocket was getting rocked last night. Jaden Daniels, these rookies are going to learn really quickly, one way or the other, that they're not able to run away from everybody like they could. They're not able to make guys miss. I mean, Caleb Williams is used to making these heroes. He was getting smashed. And even when he ran, he tried to lower his shoulder. That is just not smart. You cannot do that. Another thing that jumped out to me, I don't think we ever talk enough about just how important coaching is. Now, ironically, two of the teams I'm like critical of, they ended up winning the game. But late in the game, the Bucs are up 4, and the Lions are out of timeouts, or maybe they had 1 left, and the Bucs tried an RPO, and Barnes batted it down from Baker. I understand what the Bucs were trying to do. I understand what the Browns are trying to do. They're trying to end the game with the ball, which I respect. But man, oh man, you just, those 40 seconds are huge. It changes the whole complexion of the game after that. It changes what the other team has at their disposal when they get the ball. Bucs tried an RPO, ball got batted down. I didn't care for that. And then the Browns, they did like a bootleg with Deshaun Watson, and he had the ball batted. You know, he's just got to take a sack in that situation. If it's not open, take the sack. You're going to punt it anyway. Take the sack and have that time going off so the Jags don't have a chance to throw the ball down near the end zone. That's how you lose games. Those teams are fortunate, I thought, that they both won. I did not agree with Sean Payton's decision to kick it deep as opposed to the onside kick late for the Broncos. However, I'm not going to kill him for that because the chances of recovering an onside are very small. And I don't know what, math they have or analytics or whatever, where he thought that would be his better option. Obviously, he did. I don't agree, but I don't have access to all the information he had. And then while I'm talking about coaches, how about Matt LaFleur? You get a win against what I think or thought was a decent team like the Colts with Malik Willis as your quarterback after he's been there for like 2 weeks. So you're taking a quarterback that by all indications so far has been horrible, like a horrible NFL quarterback. And Steve Fezzik even talked about that on the Even Money Betting podcast. And he's only been there for 2 weeks, and LaFleur gets a win. Any win the Packers get without Jordan Love is like gold, absolute gold. And then for the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, that guy can flat out coach. Getting to 2-0 with Sam Darnold. One was on the road. This one's against the Niners. I know they didn't have McCaffrey, but still. He's got Sam Darnold playing at a high level. Anytime you get quarterbacks playing at a competent level that never really have before, a lot of that is coaching. And they deserve a ton of credit, in particular Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell. I guess the last thing I would say, Jack, not all losses are the same. If you're the Ravens, you cannot lose that game. You're up 2 scores at home to the Raiders. We'll talk about that momentarily, but the Ravens have had, it's interesting because they're a good team. They win most of their games, but their losses are to like brutal losses at home with leads. That is going to come back to bite them. I'm telling you, it is at the end of the season, one way or the other. And then the Bengals, they completely outplayed the Chiefs, completely outplayed them, and still lost. That is a bitter, bitter pill to swallow for the Bengals. It's just not good. It's just not good. And I understand if Bengals fans want to get a little Smirnoff because it's the perfect vodka for crafting delicious cocktails that are easy to make and versatile for any and all fans over 21. I love that's not only the world's #1 vodka, but an official vodka partner of the NFL, an official vodka partner of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer or head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails perfect for game day. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
All right, Ross, like you sort of just mentioned, Baltimore, they stunningly start the season 0-2, losing to the Raiders 26-23 on the road.
So let's start with the Raiders. They've got some positive things going on this game, right? I mean, they've kind of found who their go-to guys are throwing the ball. We already knew about Devontae Adams, but Brock Bowers, their tight end, he's a real guy in the NFL already. I mean, he is a real guy in terms of, being able to get open, being able to catch, clutch passes on third down. I mean, he was huge late in that game. And then defensively, Max Crosby, he hasn't missed a snap yet this year, which is just unheard of, absolutely unheard of for a defensive lineman. Again, 4 TFLs, 5 pressures, 2 sacks. Bobby Spillane had another big play at interception. And then for the Ravens, they're just not running it as well as they need to right now. I thought defensively, I still can't believe Kyle Van Noy played at all, let alone had 2 sacks. Thankfully for them, Odafe Owe is playing well, but still not the same defense it was last year with Mike McDonald.
Another devastating week for the Carolina Panthers. This time the Chargers, they've run all over them to win 26-3.
It's hard not to think that the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL and are going to be for the whole season. I mean, first of all, maybe it took a little bit of time, but the Chargers, again, ran over an opponent in the second half. That is a really good sign moving forward. J.K. Dobbins, again, I cannot believe he's playing this well coming off of that injury. Kudos to him. And then Quentin Johnston, a couple touchdowns. I mean, the Chargers might have a chance to do something if Quentin Johnston can play like the first-round pick he was a year ago. As for the Panthers, they are so hard to watch. Bryce Young looks like he is mentally beaten and broken down to the point where they're going to start getting asked every week whether or not they're going to put Andy Dalton in there. It is tough to watch, tough sledding, as they would say right now for the Panthers.
Okay, I think it's safe to say the New Orleans Saints, they are for real. This time they dominate the Dallas Cowboys 44-19.
Unbelievable. And part of it is how well their line is playing. I think I had them bottom 5, Jack, in my rankings for offensive lines at the 33rd team. Meanwhile, Penning looks pretty good at right tackle. Lucas Patrick is holding it down at left guard. I mean, their O-line is playing well, which is a huge part of this. It's giving Carr time to throw these bombs to Rashid Shaheed. Alvin Kamara looks like he's found the fountain of youth. I mean, I said this on social media yesterday at Ross Tucker NFL. Alvin Kamara and the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, those guys are going to be able to go to the bank with the way they're playing right now. And, Kubiak will be a head coach. Kamara will be able to get one more big contract, I think. For the Cowboys, it felt like they were moving the ball. They just couldn't get it done in the red zone. I mean, even their touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, I don't know what the 2 Saints defenders were doing. He caught the ball right in front of him. They both went right by him for the touchdown. But other than that, Saints defense did a nice job. I love the corner blitzes with Alontae Taylor. Tyrann Mathieu was flying around. Saints absolutely, through a couple games, look like they are for real. Speaking of for real, by the way, this future fans thing, Jack, absolutely for real. So first of all, I was getting texts from a couple people I know, friends, and some emails from you guys saying you ordered it. Now I'm getting texts, people saying, Ross, it worked. It worked. Ben sits next to me and watches the whole game with me. It's pretty awesome to get these texts. Here's the deal. It is storybook-led activity box. The 2 founders were on the show a couple weeks ago, and they talked about how from ages 3 to 10, definitely 4 to 8, this is the way to get your child or grandchild or niece or nephew to understand football and want to sit there with you, which is invaluable. These guys are changing the way kids learn how to follow football. Go to futurefans.com to learn more. Use the code Ross so you get 10% off and unlock a lifetime of memories with a kid in your life starting now. Code Ross, futurefans.com, and then you'll be able to just sit there with your child, drinking some Labatt Blue Lights, you, not them, but enjoying living life to the power of we with family. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
All right, next up, Tampa Bay, they get revenge for last season's playoff loss, beating the Detroit Lions 2016.
Very, very impressed with the Bucs so far. I mean, how can you not be, right? To go on the road and beat a Detroit team like this. Chris Godwin had a huge day for the Bucs. That was the guy that felt like Baker was targeting. I loved Baker's touchdown run, which was incredible. You know, the biggest thing, I should have mentioned this for one of my themes, Jack. Red zone. Red zone. Field goals versus touchdowns it feels like that's 50% of the game right now. I mean, Detroit went 1 for 7 in the red zone. Not good at all. Jared Goff, something seems a little bit off on him. I mean, imagine having Aiden Hutchinson play that well and still losing the game. I mean, every week I'm going to have a hungriest performer of the week on Monday. How do you not go with Aiden Hutchinson? He was everywhere. Now, in fairness, I blame the Bucs coaching staff because no player should ever have more than 2 sacks. Once they have 2 sacks, you should schematically take them away for the rest of the game. The Bucs knew that Justin Skule could not block him, and they still let Aiden Hutchinson terrorize them, yet they still somehow won the game. Almost 5 sacks. I guess I said 4.5. Unbelievable performance by Hutchinson. And 11oaksfarms.com is unbelievable. They're local. Genuine Wagyu beef, Angus beef, heritage breed pork, free-range chicken. They're all locally raised and available nationwide online, but they're right here. You can shop in person. You're going to see pictures at some point. I have been to the farm. I have seen the cattle, and I have tasted the meat. 11oaksfarms.com.
Green Bay, they were another run-heavy team this week, beating the Colts 16-10.
Isn't that something? I mean, you know that they're going to run it because they have Malik Willis, and you still can't stop it. That is a great lesson and example for how just because a team puts an extra defender in the box doesn't mean you can't run the rock, which is exactly what the Packers did. I thought Willis was very solid, and the Colts, something's not right. I mean, Anthony Richardson, some of those picks, there's something. I think Richardson has a lot to learn still, is how I would describe that.
Trevor Lawrence, his winless streak extends to 295 days after an 18-13 loss to the Browns.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, listen, the Browns defense is legit. I mean, they were all over him, harassing him the entire time. They are legit. I mean, especially the first 2.5 quarters, he was not able, Trevor Lawrence was never, ever, ever able to get into a rhythm whatsoever. It was bad, really, really bad. The big positive, I guess, for the Jags was just that Brian Thomas, rookie receiver, looks legit. For the Browns, the offense still wasn't great, but Deshaun Watson was at least average. He at least gave them a chance to win the game.
Vikings, they moved to 2-0 to 23-17 win over the 49ers.
The Minnesota Vikings. So, listen, we know Christian McCaffrey on IR, out for at least 4 weeks. That hurts the Niners offense, but they looked pretty darn good still against the Jets without him. So give a lot of credit to Brian Flores and the Vikings defense. Brock Purdy said after the game, your scheme is crazy. They got that on tape when he was talking with Flores. And then, by the way, Brandon Ayuk is doing like nothing. And then for the Vikings, I said it earlier, Sam Darnold, man. I mean, this game actually would not have been close if it wasn't for Fred Warner. That pick and that forced fumble were the only things that kept the Niners in the game.
Seattle, they beat the Patriots in overtime 23-20.
Well, those of you that listen or watch the Even Money podcast probably know that I'm surprised there were this many points in the game. These teams were going back and forth scoring early in the game. Way more big plays in the passing game than I thought. Geno Smith is playing well. Both DK Metcalf and Smith and Jigba went over 100 yards. Metcalf had that big, long touchdown. The Patriots still ran it pretty effectively. I would be highly encouraged if I'm a Patriots fan that they can be competitive all year because this is their formula. They were able to run it pretty decent and play solid defense. They're giving themselves a chance in these games.
Aaron Rodgers, he gets his first win as a Jet, beating the Titans 24-17.
I mean, 2 weeks in a row, Titans probably should have won the game, but they had a punt blocked and they had an outrageous brain fart play from Will Levis. You're not going to win doing those things. By the way, Levis got crazy fortunate that Calvin Ridley caught that touchdown. I still have no idea how that ball got through there. That was crazy. As for the Jets, the Jermaine Johnson loss is a bummer, but they got two running backs. I mean, Breece Hall out of the backfield, and then how about Braylon Allen looking like a star so far? Emory Hunt was all over that on the College Draft podcast. He loved Braylon Allen.
Safe to say Graham Gano's injury cost the Giants the win. They lose to the Washington Commanders 21-18.
Someone's getting in trouble here. He came into the game with an injury. Now they said they thought he'd be good to go, but you got to know for sure that he's good to go because that really hurt them. You also, by the way, should have your punter do enough so that he can kick extra points. If the extra point was shorter like it used to be, he probably would have been fine. But now that they pushed it back, that made a huge difference. Malik Neighbors had a big game for the Giants, but he had that drop late in the game on fourth down. That was the biggest play of the game. The Commanders look better. Jaden Daniels better. Bogged down the red zone every time. But their new kicker, Austin, baby, 7 field goals for the win.
Marvin Harrison Jr., he's completely fine. Cardinals win big, 41-10.
Some of that would have been nice in the game I did on TV. Would have been really nice, Marvin Harrison Jr., if you listen or watch the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Could have used some of those highlight plays from you in week 1. It was very, very impressive. The whole Cardinals team, I think they're good. I mean, they didn't get it done on the road against Buffalo. Their defense was much better. That's what really surprised me is how much their defense was able to get after Matthew Stafford and slow down Sean McVay's offense. I was not expecting that. But I also wasn't expecting them to put up 40-some points. Just an utterly dominant performance by the Cardinals. And now the Rams are 0-2. Cooper Kupp came off the field. He's beat up. It's not good.
Bo Nix's early season struggles continue. Another 2 interceptions showing. 13-6 loss to the Steelers.
The statistics for Bo Nix throwing the ball down the field are ugly, really ugly. The interception in the end zone is the type of rookie mistake. That's the difference between having a chance to win the game or not. The Steelers' defense, though, really might be that good. They're 2 for 2 now and playing that way. And then Fields, I thought Fields played better than he did against Atlanta. By the way, that throw he made on the run to Pickens is just outrageous. But it came back because of the Broderick Jones penalty, I guess. Just outrageous. Looks like Broderick Jones is kind of benched at this point.
Bengals' late penalties hurt them. Kansas City, they moved to 2-0, 26-25 win.
Brutal. Talked about at the start of the game. The Bengals, the Chiefs could not block Trey Hendrickson. He was dominating the game. They had to bench their rookie left tackle. My guy, Yossi Vash from Princeton, who's been on the show, I'll get him on again, had 2 touchdowns. That was sweet. But the Joe Burrow fumble that Connor returned for a touchdown, absolutely devastating. And then guess what? The Bengals were still going to win until that pass interference penalty by the rookie safety, Anthony, late in the game, which was a good call. It was pass interference.
Chicago, they lose a low-scoring battle to Houston in primetime, 19-13.
So I'm still not sure watching that game how much of it is bad Bears O-line or like the Texans D-line being that good, but it was impressive. They were all over Caleb Williams the entire game. It was Will Anderson, it was Danielle Hunter, it was everybody. I said earlier in the game, Caleb Williams looked bruised and it wasn't great offensively for the Texans other than really Nico Collins getting them some points. Bears defense, I think, is legit. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. I want to send you guys autographs. Yes, you. And I want you to get the best gift possible for a loved one. Yes, you. myfrontpagestory.com. Pizza Boy Brewing. How about Sporticulture? HumanHeadNYC.com. BackOfficeScheduler.com.